G'day, battlers, and today we're jumping in for not one, but two Silph Arena Factions field metas. I think this is the first time ever that Silph Arena has brought in two completely brand new field metas for factions, so we'll see how we go. So this video, we are going to be going into both, so there's going to be a split down the middle. In the progress bar down below, you should see timestamps about where the colony field starts and where the alchemy field starts, so that you should be able to just, if you know that you are just playing the colony field meta in this faction cycle, then you can just skip straight to that and skip the alchemy bit. But with that said, let's just jump straight into it. So first off, if you don't know what Silph Arena Factions is, I'm going to link that video up there that I tend to do just in case you want to get caught up about what factions is. Short answer, it's a team tournament. Second answer, or second question, is that this is going to be Season 2 Cycle 1's field metas. So this is coming up in, I think registration opens in the next few days, and then it's open for about a week. So if you want to get in, now's the time, and you can start to practice these metas. But yeah, let's jump into it. First, I'll just intro the alchemy field, and then I'll come back to this image and intro the colony field again when we go into that field meta. We're going to start off with the alchemy field. So on the left hand side here, we have allowed typings of fire, flying, ghost, ground, psychic, and steel. And then we have a pretty sizable ban list of megas, water types, dark types, Altaria, Bastiodon, Cresselia, Diggersby, Golem, Graveler, Metacham, Mew, Probopass, Registeel, and Galarian Stunfisk. So they've sort of taken out a lot of the sort of big, bulky rock types, which has actually allowed the fire types and the flying types to maybe have a little bit more play, while still allowing some other steel types. So let's jump into the Alchemy Cup meta, and ta-da! I mean, usually I do one of these ones for the thumbnail, but I don't know what this thumbnail is going to be because there's two metas in here, so we'll just have to find out. But jumping straight into it, we've got sort of 5 main groups on the graphic, and then we've got a couple of other characters hanging out in the bottom right hand side. We'll start off with the very center of the graphic though, because Stunfisk, Unnovan Stunfisk, is the #1 on PvPoke for this meta. We've got some other ground types like Excadrill and Sandslash as well, Kanto Sandslash, because it does have access to Night Slash now after that community day, which is going to help it out in this meta. So you can see there's an arrow going from that to the left hand side, but we have some steel types, the Steelix and the Alolan Sandslash, who does have access to Shadow Claw now, which I do think is the move that you want to go for in this meta. We then have these two beating the fire types in the bottom, so Ninetales, Magcargo, Talonflame. We've got them losing to the ghost types in the top, so that's Trevenant, Frostlass, and Cofagrigus, although there is going to be some play back at that one. Don't take that as complete gospel, because there is definitely some way for those ground types to fight back. They just generally lose those matchups. And then we've got a back and forth arrow going between the psychic types on the right hand side, where we've got Defense Deoxys, Hypno, and Wobbuffet. So this is kind of just because we have a Sandslash and Excadrill that don't really like the sort of big counter damage as much, so they tend to lose a little bit more, whereas Unnovan Stunfisk has actually a little bit of a better time up against those sort of the counter users, being that Wobbuffet and the Deoxys. Hypno is sort of a weird one. Like, I only put Hypno on this infographic because Hypno is always good. Like, it's a really bulky Pokemon. It isn't super high on the rankings, but I still think that because it's a bulky mon, because in Silph Arena Factions you're able to pick your moves after you see your opponent's team, I think having that sort of Swiss Army knife of a Hypno does give you a little bit more flexibility in that regard. So I do think that Hypno is going to be something you have to be prepared for. But regardless, that's sort of the ground types in a nutshell. You've got some, different options in there. You've got Excadrill as that steel typing if you want to, if you want to take a little bit more damage from counter, but it does sort of give you some extra play with both Drill Run and Rock Slide as well. In the top though, we've got the Ghosts, Trevenant, Frostlass, Cofagrigus. We've got them beating the Psychic types as you'd expect. We've got them losing to the Steel types. Steelix has that access to Crunch, and of course, as we said before, Alolan Sandslash does have that Shadow Claw now, which isn't really going to help it in these matchups. Plus, it already has the Steel typing, so it doesn't care too much about the damage that the Ghosts are throwing back. There's no arrow between the Ghosts and the Fire types because it's very dependent. I mean, Frostlass and Trevenant have the Ice and the Grass type respectively, so they obviously do not love the Fire types. Cofagrigus has a little bit of a better time against them though. We've got the Psychics on the right. We've got them beating the Fire types because again, Magcargo going to be weak to that, weak to counter. We've got Talonflame that isn't going to love the Rock Slides, isn't going to love Ice Punches from Hypno. And then Ninetales actually does have a little bit of playback, but again, for the most part, the Psychic types are winning this one, and no arrow between these guys and the Steel types over on the left, because Alolan Sandslash and Steelix are both going to be taking some pretty big counter damage, but also Steelix has access to Crunch, you know, Alolan Sandslash has access to Shadow Claw, so depending on shields, charge moves, energy, where the game is up to, I think that those matchups can really go both ways depending. Alolan Sandslash just has to be mindful that he does take super effective damage, or double super effective damage from the counters, so a little bit scary. But regardless, we've also got the Fire types beating the Steel types because that's kind of what they do, and then we've also got the Steel types beating the Ghost types, and that's sort of, we've got a little bit of a cycle going around the outside with the Ground types just as the sort of special spice in the middle. Now, our extra little characters down the bottom right, we've got Nidoqueen. Nidoqueen is it is technically a ground type, but it plays a little bit different in this meta. I mean, I think for the most part, those matchups are actually right if you just plop it into that ground type. But I think that Nidoqueen is a little bit of a different Pokemon in that it does play differently. It's not really acting as a ground type. It's acting as a Poison Fang debuff that you can always throw. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Poison Fang all the time, and then you've got the threat of Earth Power that is definitely scary when you don't correctly shield it. So I think Nidoqueen is a little bit more of a slightly different character, which is why I've just sort of pushed it to the side. Alolan Marowak, another fire type that works quite differently to the fire types that are on the graphic, in the sense that you've got that ghost typing, you're actually able to fight back up against the psychic types. You lose a little bit more to some of the other Pokemon that the fire types do a little bit better against, like Steelix isn't as good of a matchup because it's got access to that crunch. Alolan Sandslash still isn't going to love the fire spins doing double super effective again, but he still is going to have a little bit more play with the Shadow Claw. But for the most part, I've just sort of, he's a little bit of a different, he's a side grade for the fire types if you do want to sort of go that way. And again, you've got some options whether you want to go Hex or Fire Spin, although I think Fire Spin is probably better in almost every case in this meta. I've also got Berserker. Berserker is actually a really sort of interesting Pokemon in this meta because you have access to Shadow Claw and Foul Play, so you can hit the Ghosts, you can hit the Psychics, but you also have access to close combat, so you can hit the Steels, you can hit some of the Rock types, the you know, some of the other Pokemon that are going to be weak. So there's something in every single one of these groups that Berserker can hit. It takes a lot of damage, it's not the bulkiest Pokemon, and because it is running that close combat, it's a little bit, you know, it's one of those you might debuff yourself sort of situation. So it's not the meta king, but I think that Berserker is probably a really strong Pokemon, and top battlers that really know how to sort of use these Pokemon in really good ways, know how to sort of know the flow of battle, I think are really going to get a lot of good use out of Berserker. So I'd probably really recommend maybe, I mean, even if you're not using it, be prepared what you're actually going to do if you do see a Berserker on the other side, because if, you know, Defense Deox is your only sort of answer, you're still going to take a lot of damage from the Shadow Claw Foul Play combo. So maybe just keep that in mind. But I think that's all I want to say about the Alchemy Field. Very interesting meta. Sort of a core, you know, we sort of understand this based on some other Silph metas. There's a lot of familiar faces. But I think now we're going to jump over into the Colony meta, which is a completely other story. So we'll jump back to this image and we'll intro the Colony Field. So the Colony Field is another meta where we have 6 base typings. I think Silph actually did in their survey, what sort of metas do you like? I think that the biggest answer was that people do like these sort of type-based metas, so that is what they've gone for. This time, we're getting Bugs, Electrics, Grounds again, Ice types, Psychics again, and Water types being allowed in this one, and then we've got an even bigger ban list of Megas, Shadows, Fairy types, Fighting types, Flying types, Abomasnow, Defense Deoxys, Diggersby, Escavalier, Fortress, Genesect, Jellicent, Pachirisu, Steelix, Galarian, Stunfisk, Swampert, Walrein, Whiscash, Wobbuffet, and Trash Wormadam. So a whole lot of bans, and when it comes to this, I feel like the easiest way is to just jump into it and take a look at what we actually can use, because it definitely can be a little bit interesting. But as I said before, this meta is a little bit wild, and so we're going to be seeing some brand new faces for sure as we go into this meta. We've got 5 groups on the graphic here. In the top, we've got the Waters. Over on the left-hand side, we've got the Ice types. In the bottom, we have Malamar. And then below me, we have at the bottom, the Bug types. And then above that, it's sort of like a Psychic Grass sort of combo. I'm going to call it the Grass group, just because on all of those Psychic types, you are going to be wanting to run Grass moves. Unless you're, you know, Mew and want to go really spicy. So I'm going to call it the Grass maybe Psychic Grass group, because, I mean, there aren't any other Psychics on the graphic either. So, starting off, we've got the bug types in the bottom right, and this is sort of the bread and butter of this meta, I feel. It is the Colony Cup, so it makes sense. We've got things like Parasect, Kricketune, Leavanny, Pokemon that you really probably haven't used in any other Silph Arena meta, paired alongside a Galvantula and Pinsir. So Leavanny is probably one of the best Pokemon in this meta, and is probably the most common pick that people are going to be building for the first time for this meta. Because not only does it have your sort of bug moves, where you can hit the Dark-type Malamar, you can hit the Grass types and the Psychic types, but it also has access to some Grass coverage, so you're able to also throw some big hits over against the Water types, which really gives you a lot of play in this meta, and I feel like it's definitely one that you are going to see a ton of, if not on every single team going into this meta, and if they don't have it, it's probably just because they don't have it built, because I sure don't have the candy to do that yet, but it's something I should probably fix. But also, you know, we've got things like Kricketune in there, who has access to a Night Slash, I think, who can hit those Psychic types again. Also has a little bit back of play against those Ice types that are generally beating the Bug type, sorry. But you've got a little bit of play up against that Ghost typing on the Frostlass. Parasect has access to Solar Beam, so again, you're getting that sort of Grass coverage that you can hit against the Water types with. Galvantula has access to Energy Ball. I did use Energy Ball in my Nemesis Cup, which did surprise one or two folks. Definitely almost got some big game turnarounds there. And I think that there's reason that you might want to run that again in this meta, just because those Water types are around. And then you've got Lunge, which is going to be really nice for all of the Psychic and the Grass types as well, plus just everything, and Malamar, of course. And then Pinsir has access to Close Combat again, so Close Combat, we know how it sort of works. Pinsir is a little bit of it's not going to be a one-size-fits-all Pokemon, but some people that sort of Pinsir matches their gameplay, they're definitely going to enjoy it in this meta. Then, we've got the Psychic Grass types, so we've got Torterra running Razor Leaf as pretty much the only Razor Leaf that is you're probably going to be using Razor Leaf for in this meta. You're going to just demolish Water types. I don't think that should be a surprise to anyone. Then Hisuian Electrode has got Energy Ball as well. And as far as the other three Psychic sort of legendary mythical types, Cresselia, you really are going to be wanting Grass Knot. I think there's some arguments you can make for the other moves as far as its second move is concerned. You could go Moonblast so that you have some play up against the Malamar, who is going to be a fairly key player in this meta, I feel. But you can sort of experiment with that one a little bit, but I think you are definitely going to want Grass Knot for the Water types that are around. I've also got Mew, that you technically, I think the best moveset is going to involve Grass Knot. So if you decide to play TM Roulette, I mean, again, because we're in factions, you are able to TM your moves after you see your opponent's team. So Mew is one of those Pokemon you can sort of, if you're willing to burn the resources, burn the TMs, it is one that you can sort of use a little bit more to your specific liking. So you can really make adjustments on the fly based on your opponent's team of 6, which a lot of people do definitely appreciate, and a lot of opponents do not appreciate. Then we've got Celebi, who's running the brand new Magical Leaf. I don't think that Confusion is the way to go in this meta. I think that Magical Leaf probably provides you with a little bit better. It's probably the worst of the Psychic types. Like, I wouldn't recommend bringing Celebi, but I've just put it on here in case you do want to go that way, because, hey, Celebi is always someone's favorite Pokemon. I mean, Trainer Tips likes Celebi, right? Then we've got the Water types. Loses the Grass types, as you'd expect. Going to be generally beating the Alolan Sandslash and the Frostlass, although it doesn't always work that way. Actually, I should probably sort of zoom out a little bit and go, in my head, we've sort of got this sort of main core 4 in the bottom. So we have the Bug types beating the Grass types, we have the Ice types beating the Grass types and beating the Bug types, and then we have Malamar to beat both the Ice types, with Foul Play on the Frostlass, Close Combat, or Superpower on the Alolan Sandslash, and then also has access to that Foul Play that is going to be able to beat up the Psychic types, as well as not caring too much about the Grass damage. It's still neutral. It hurts a little bit. But then you're generally going to be using the Bugs to counter the Malamar. So if you ignore the Water types, you can sort of see how there's a little bit of a core-ish meta developing. And I think where the Water types come in is they're a little bit of a core breaker, I guess. They sort of help to sort of break up some of the stuff around. Like there's no arrow between the Water types and the bottom 2 groups because they're going to be dependent on which Water type you pick. So the Mud Boys are going to be really nice up against more of the Bug types. So like Quagsire does a little bit better than things like, I mean, Lantern's not great against the bug types, but it's going to be dependent on which one you want to go for. I think that a popular water type is going to be Samurott, because Samurott does have Mega Horn. It's also got Fury Cut as a fast move, so that's going to give you a bit more play up against Malamar, up against the opposing Psychic and Grass types. So, you know, if you've got your Samurott in, you farm something down, you have a ton of energy, and they bring out their Grass Knot Mew in the back, you might have the chance to land that Mega Horn and take Mew out before it has the chance to Grass Knot you. So I think that it's definitely... I like Samurott in this meta, and I think that it's probably going to be one of the best Pokemon to use. I think Gastrodon maybe a little bit less. Like, it does have some more play up against the Ice Steel or Sandslash against Galvantula, but I don't think it's going to be the big pick, I think. Just because it doesn't really have a lot of... It doesn't have a lot of coverage moves, I guess. Like, you've got Body Slam, which is going to hit pretty much everything for something at least, but I just think that Gastrodon is probably most likely to be left at home. It's more of the Politoed Quagsire. I could definitely see a little bit more use though, but Malamar is one that I think that is probably going to be worth building for this meta. If you haven't already built it, it is definitely... I think it helps to round out the teams a little bit. It's not the meta destroyer, but again, it's one of those superpower Pokemon that maybe takes a little bit of finesse to play in certain matchups, but I think for the most part, you are actually just going to be relying on that foul play damage. So I think that you're probably... It's not as risky as it is in other metas, I feel, but I mean, that's sort of like... I've gone very scatterbrained going through this colony meta, but I think that we've sort of covered the main gist of what you should sort of expect as we go into these metas. So with that said, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, especially that subscribe one. As far as the Celestial meta, which is the new meta that's coming out for the Ultra League, I'm not sure if I'm going to make a meta simplified video for that one, just because, you know, I'm not going to claim to be some Ultra League expert, because I am not, but if I can get a good understanding of the meta, like if I feel like my 2 cents is worth something, then I'll come in and make a Celestial Cup meta simplified as well. But let me know if that is something you'd want to see, because, you know, if no one cares, then, well, no one cares. But yeah, Alchemy Field, Colony Field, let me know which one you're sort of leaning a little bit more to. I think Alchemy Field is sort of more... I want to say Alchemy is more bread and butter, whereas Colony is a little bit more... It's an out there meta, to say the least. But yeah, with that said, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, especially that subscribe one. Thank you to my patrons and supporters over on Twitch as well for being lovely peoples. And yeah, if you want to check out some other Silph content, that'll be over that side. And whoa, a subscribe button. That looks like it would be really cool to click, doesn't it?